get the Facebook up here as well. That was the YouTube. Now for the Facebook. And need to do that little billboard. And it's basically the same thing. The Sunday Night Islam Show. And bleedy bam. Host. I don't put a lot up there. Richard Selezak on Mohammed's traditions. Alrighty, that looks good enough. And let's get started on that broadcast. And let's get some weather reporting in here. It looks like we have quite the heat warning for the valley. Sacramento Valley is a red flag warning from San Joaquin County northward to Shasta County and southward through the San Joaquin Valley of the heat advisory. Northwest Nevada, same red flag warning throughout all of northwest Nevada. And now we're going to go to our local forecast. And this is from weather.gov, the Weather Bureau. That way we don't have to worry about any copyright infringement. Hazardous weather conditions for Stockton. Yes, blowing dust. I was seeing it in the air on the way over to the station this afternoon, about a half hour ago. Humidity is currently at 30%. This is as of 6 p.m. out at Stockton Airport. 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind is 18 miles per hour out of the northwest. Barometer is at 29.78 inches of mercury. Visibility is reduced. It's at 8 miles. Heat index makes it 88 degrees. According to the heat index. And for current conditions, multiple hazards in effect. Let's see what that means. It says click here for details. Heat advisory until June 24, 8 p.m. Red flag warning until 8 p.m. Okay. Then into this evening, we have clear weather. 62 degrees is going to be the low. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 91. Monday night, clear with a low of 60. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 94. Tuesday night, clear with a low of 59. And currently just keeping things in line here. Tuesday night, it's going to be clear with a low of 59. Wednesday, sunny, forecast high 91. Wednesday night, clear with with a low of 58. Thursday, sunny with a high of 92. And let us have a minutes. Okay. Now we're going to go on to get on into our show this evening. Got kind of a problem, but it will be overcome. Let's get the microphones going over where we need to have them going. And this is the Voice of Stockton. We are reaching out for members and for sponsors. We're going to be having coming up the Summer Wonderland. It's a Bedford block party, music, art, food, drinks, vendors, raffles, and fun. It's going to be July 21st from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here on Bedford Road, right here at Bedford and Pacific. We're going to close it off and have a big old block party. So come on down. That's going to be in about 4 weeks. In the meantime, be in contact with us. We're at 231 West Bedford Road, 467-4455, thevoiceofstockton.org. Please consider being a member. Please consider being a sponsor. Please consider being involved. Glad to have you. Our sponsors... Wait a minute, we'll be, oh my, wait a minute. I think I could just mosey on over here and tell you about our sponsors. At least get on the video feed. And Hotel Furniture Liquidators, they're over at 1648 North Shaw Road. That's at Shaw Road and East Fremont, just east of 99. Furniture for your home. Books for your home, for friends, can be had at the Miracle Mile Bookstore, 2210 Pacific Avenue, and 2310 Pacific Avenue is Doors Book Recyclery. Plastics in your life, get it. At Custom Plastics and Signs, they do fabricating. They'll fabricate up a display for you. They make signage, such as corrugated plastic signage, print out stencils, vehicle and boat graphics. Woo, yeah, graphic up your vehicle. They'll print T-shirts and business cards, and yeah, they have plastic sheets, plastic tubes, and plastic rods for your plastic fantastic. That's Custom Plastics and Science, 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. Millennium Computer Repair, mobile computer repair, parts and software. Work is done by Sarfraz Khan, 922-1879. That's Millennium Computer Repair at 922-1879. They'll fix anything wrong with your computer at reasonable rates. Habitat for Humanity of San Joaquin County has a building supply store, hardware store for you. It's the Restore at 4933 Northwest Lane, 100 yards south of March Lane. Everything there. The building supplies, paint, doors, windows, furniture, wallboard, HVAC, electrical, lovingly used. And if you have some leftover building material from your project, bring it on down. Oh, tools as well. Tender Donuts, we bake fresh daily. They're at 1304 East Hammer Lane. Get that Donut Jones fulfilled. Chanrith Sam and Sivke Sam baking fresh daily for you. Leaders T-shirt and business card printing, 500 East Lodi Avenue in Lodi. Get that business card and T-shirts printed up. All righty, you can be a sponsor too. Come on down and we'll talk about you and get that business a-rolling. All righty, well, last week we were on the life of Mohammed, and activities going on in Medina, 622 to 624. Got a little bit more of that to do. We're going to take we're going to go back to the traditions this evening. You know, we here at the Islam Show, we fleshed out with the history of what's going on, what went on in Muhammad's life, but he produced something quite spectacular, Islam. So that comes in the traditions, but most so it comes in the Quran. We just got through with Surah 2, and that puts us in the years 622 to 624. And to go along with that, we need to get back to the traditions to further explain. Now, the traditions were compiled after Muhammad's life. So it's a look back. They're not in a chronologic order, but in subject order. So some of this stuff came up before 622 and some after 624, but a lot of it did come up in those years. So we're going to be looking at the traditions, and let me get started with our show here for the audition portion. That is what is recorded for future play, and it has its own billboard, which I am putting up right now, and then we will get to recording the show. And got 6:44 p.m. here at the Voice of Stock. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are webtuned to thevoiceofstockton.org, also KXVS.org, and coming to you over Facebook and YouTube. I am Richard Slezak. This is the Sunday Islam Show, coming to you from the John Moriarty Studio, 231 West Bedford Road, Stockton, California. Now, earlier on, I was told that we had multiple cameras going, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Plus, things are a little weird. I left my power cord at home along with my book of that we were going to continue with the history, but not to be this evening. So it's all good, and we are going to get into something that is essential in explaining Islam. And we have done, we've done the Meccan surahs, and along with those, we've done about 2/3 to 3/4 of the 93 books of the Bukhari Hadith Sunnah collection. And now, that's not the camera, so I'll just stay in front of this one. And my computer has been getting charged up, so its battery should be okay, and we're just going to go as long as we can, and got to wait for it to warm up. These are the traditions, the actions, the words. A lot of them ultimately were written down at the time. They didn't have a lot of writing materials, but they did have good memories, and there were always people around Muhammad, and they would reiterate the stories and passed them along. They were an oral tradition, again, with a lot of it written down by the people that did hear it, and they'd pass it along to their either physical descendants or to friends within the, comrades in the faith. And that created the isnad. And there were multiple stories abounding. By the time Bukhari was around, about 750, there were 500,000. And he whittled those down to 6,000 thereabouts, and close to 7,000. And those are what I go back to, but those are what I'm passing along to you. I'll do 55 of them this evening as we have time and power. And I got this on file in my laptop, and there was a Islamic website, and they gave it away. They're glad to share. So House of Islam .org, I believe it was. And I did that a couple of years ago. Just sent the whole thing. Now, Muhammad Khan is the translator of these. He also translated a book done by, essentially, this House of Saud. They own the presses, in Arabia, and it was a book out of Arabia that is it doesn't have all of them, but it does have them. It's the Bukhari. It's a summarized Bukhari Hadith and Sunnah, but it has them in English and Arabic, so one can't complain. Oh, wait a minute! I don't have to go to this. And I'm Googling up something, and I didn't need to do that, so. Is it stuck? Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna go to the File Explorer and bring that up. I might just, take that down and just bring this up. And hopefully it'll be up in a short amount of time, and we can go right to it. Pardon these delays. We're going to be, so this is some good stuff coming, and come on screen, flesh it out. Quick access granted, and let's, what the heck? Oh, there it is. Sahih al-Bukhari. Come on. Oh, open. It's been a while. And again, I hope my power lasts and lasts. We started the show at 6:44 p.m. and these are 1-hour shows. And this thing is taking its time. How do you want to open this file? Google Chrome. I may as well just go with Google Chrome. It works pretty good. What the heck? I'm not seeing anything. Oh, okay. Boom. Come on, come on. Okay. Oop. This looks like it's about right. Got 6:51 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. Going to be doing the Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari, translator Mushin Khan. And collection of sayings and deeds of Prophet Muhammad, also known as the Sunnah. Reports of the Prophet's sayings and deeds are called ahadith. Bukhari lived a couple of centuries after the Prophet's death and worked extremely hard to collect his ahadith. He did. He really did. This is a sincerely collected, historically accurate collection. This is true historian work. He did good work. It's reliable. And skeptics are a dime a dozen, but the guy did good work. Each report in his collection was checked for compatibility with the Quran, and the veracity of the claim of reporters had to be painstakingly established. Bukhari's collection is recognized by the overwhelming majority of the Muslim world to be one of the most authentic collections of Sunnah of Muhammad ibn Abdullah. So Bukhari was born 194, and those are strange years. So that's approximately 190 years, 832, around 812, and he lived 60. Oh, poor guy. He only lived 62 years. I'm 63, and he achieved a great thing. He left a great work. Hey, he lived in the 8th century, and it's still around. You know, that's greatness. And so, yeah, from about 812 to 874. And so here we go. We're going to just do books 1 and 2. And book 1 is on Revelation. Book 2 is on belief. And they're both in volume 1. Okay. And let me get my little log up going here. And, whoop. Sponsors. Show. Start. Audition. And we currently have 654 book 1. All righty. This is narrated Umar bin al-Khattab. Oh, yeah, we've heard a lot about him. I heard Allah's apostle saying, the reward of deeds depends upon the intentions, and every person will get the reward according to what he has intended. So whoever emigrated for worldly benefits or for a woman to marry, his emigration was for what he emigrated for. Okay, we're in Volume 1, Book 1, Number 2, narrated by Aisha. Oh my, yes, Muhammad's youngest wife, the mother of the faithful believers. Al-Harith bin Hisham asked Allah's apostle, O Allah's apostle, how is the divine inspiration revealed to you? Allah's apostle replied, sometimes it is revealed like the ringing of a bell. This form of inspiration is the hardest of all, and then this state passes off. After I have grasped what is inspired, sometimes the angel comes in the form of a man and talks to me, and I grasp whatever he says. Aisha added, verily I saw the prophet being inspired divinely on a very cold day, and noticed the sweat dropping from his forehead as the inspiration was over. And we continue. Number 3, it's 2 paragraphs, also narrated by Aisha. Now, oh my, Muhammad was 44, 614, so this could be right from that very time, although she was with him from when she was 6 years old onwards. And so that was at about 620. And so this is number 3, also narrated by Aisha, the mother of the faithful believers. The commencement of the divine inspiration to Allah's apostle was in the form of good dreams which came true, like bright daylight, and then the love of seclusion was bestowed upon him. He used to go in seclusion in the cave of Hira, where he used to worship Allah alone, continuously for many days before his desire to see his family. He used to take with him the journey food for the stay, and then come back to his wife Khadijah to take his food likewise again, till suddenly the truth descended upon him while he was in the cave of Hira. The angel came to him and asked him to read. The prophet replied, I do not know how to read. The prophet added, the angel caught me forcefully and pressed me so hard that I could not bear it any more. He then released me again and asked me to read, and I replied, I do not know how to read. Thereupon he caught me again and pressed me a second time till I could not bear it any more. He then released me, and again he asked me to read, but again I replied, I do not know how to read, or shall I read? Thereupon he caught me for the third time and pressed me, and then released me and said, Read in the name of your Lord, who has created all that exists, has created man from a clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous. And that's from Surah 96. That was the first Surah, verses 1, 2, and 3. Then Allah's apostle returned with the inspiration and with his heart beating severely. He then went to Khadijah bint Khuwaylid and said, Cover me, cover me. They covered him till his fear was over. After that he told her everything that had happened and said, I fear that something may happen to me. Khadijah replied, Never. By Allah, Allah will never disgrace you. You keep good relations with your kith and kin, help the poor and the destitute, serve your guests generously, and assist the deserving calamity-afflicted ones. Khadijah then accompanied him to her cousin Waruka bin Naufal bin Asad bin Abdul Uzza, who, during the pre-Islamic period, became a Christian and used to write the writing with Hebrew letters. He would write from the gospel in Hebrew as much as Allah wished him to write. He was an old man and had lost his eyesight. Khadijah said to Waraka, W-A-R-A-Q-A, Listen to the story of your nephew, O my cousin. Waraka asked, O my nephew, what have you seen? Allah's apostle described whatever he had seen. Waraka said, This is the same one who keeps the secrets, Angel Gabriel, whom Allah had sent to Moses. I wish I were young and could live up to the time when your people would turn you out. Allah's apostles asked, Will they drive me out? Waraka replied in the affirmative and said, Any one man who came with something similar to what you have brought was treated with hostility, and if I should remain alive till the day when you will be turned out, then I would support you strongly. But after a few days, Waraka died, and the divine inspiration was also paused for a while. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari, while talking about the period of pause and revelation, reporting the speech of the prophet, While I was walking, all of a sudden I heard a voice from the sky. I looked up and saw the same angel who had visited me in the cave of Hira, sitting on a chair between the sky and the earth. I got afraid of him It is now 7:02 p.m. This is the voice of Stockton.org and also KXVS.org. I am Richard Slezak. This is the Sunday Night Islam Show, sharing with you number 3 ahadith of Book 1, Volume 1 of the Bukhari Hadith Sunnah Collection. Continuing, I got afraid of him and came back home and said, "Wrap me in blankets," and then Allah revealed the following holy verse of the Quran. O you, that is Muhammad, wrapped in garments, arise and warn the people against Allah's punishment, up to and desert the idols. After this, revelation started coming strongly, frequently, and regularly. Now that was Surah 74, verses 1 through 5. Continuing, number 4 is a long paragraph, looks to be 4, 8, 12, 13 lines. Narrated Said bin Jubair, Ibn Abbas, in the explanation of the statement of Allah, "Move not your tongue concerning the Quran to make haste therewith," and that's from Surah 75, verse 16, said Allah's apostle used to bear the revelations with great trouble and used to move his lips quickly with the inspiration. Ibn Abbas moved his lips, saying, "I am moving my lips in front of you as Allah's apostle used to move his." Said moved his lips, saying, "I am moving my lips as I saw Ibn Abbas moving his." Ibn Abbas added, "So Allah revealed, move not your tongue concerning the Quran to make haste therewith. It is for us to collect it and to give you, O Muhammad," in parentheses, "the ability to recite it," the Quran, and this is from verses 16, 17 in Surah 75, which means that Allah will make him, the Prophet, remember the portion of the Quran which was revealed at that time by heart and recite it, the statement of Allah, and when we have recited it to you, O Muhammad, through Gabriel, then you follow its Quran recital, and that's in verse 18, Surah 75, means listen to it and be silent. Then it is for us, Allah, to make it clear to you, that's verse 19, means then it is for Allah to make you recite it, and its meaning will be clear by itself through your tongue. Afterwards, Allah's apostle used to listen to Gabriel whenever he came, and after his departure he used to recite it as Gabriel had recited it. And onward to, let me check some of the computer apparatus. We go back over here and check out the radio DJ. Come on up. All righty, says 7:05 here at the Voice of Stockton, and things look to be going fine on the XSplit and a little bit of the audition. Come on up. Oh, we're doing just fine. Good, good, good. And so we have continuing number 5. Narrated Ibn Abbas, Allah's apostle was the most generous of all the people, and he used to reach the peak in generosity in the month of Ramadan when Gabriel would meet him. Gabriel used to meet him every night of Ramadan to teach him the Quran. Allah's apostle was the most generous person, even more generous than the strong, uncontrollable wind, in readiness and haste to do charitable deeds. Then number 6, and oh boy, yeah, now number 6 came around 6:31 or so. So this is a big look into the future, and how much of it is historic? Well, I've been explaining that, and we'll explain it further. But this is from their perspective. And so, yeah, it's 3-4 pages. All righty. Narrated Abdallah bin Abbas. Abu Sufyan bin Harb informed me that Heraclius had sent a messenger to him while he had been accompanying a caravan from Quraysh. They were merchants doing business in Sham, that is Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, and Jordan, at the time when Allah's apostle had a truce with Abu Sufyan and Quraysh infidels. Oh, so this was around 629. So Abu Sufyan and his companions went to Heraclius at Ilya, that is Jerusalem. Heraclius called them in the court, and he had all the senior Roman dignitaries around him. He called for his translator, who, translating Heraclius's question, said to them, "Who amongst you is closely related to that man who claims to be a prophet?" Abu Sufyan replied, "I am the nearest relative to him among the group." Now this is 629, and all Muhammad had was Medina and Khaybar at the most. So the reliability of the story is kind of, well, anyways. Heraclius said, "Bring him, Abu Sufyan, close to me and make his companions stand behind him." Abu Sufyan added, "Heraclius told his translator to tell my companions that he wanted to put some questions to me regarding that man, the prophet, and that if I told him a lie, they, my companions, should contradict me." Abu Sufyan added, "By Allah, had I not been afraid of my companions labeling me a liar, I would not have spoken the truth about the prophet. The first question he asked me about him was, 'What is his family status amongst you?' I replied, 'He belongs to a good, that is, noble family amongst us.' Heraclius further asked, 'Has anybody amongst you ever claimed the same, in other words, to be a prophet before him?' I replied, 'No.' He said, 'Was anybody amongst his ancestors a king?' I replied, 'No.' Heraclius asked, 'Do the nobles or the poor follow him?' I replied, 'It is the poor who follow him.' He said, 'Are his followers increasing, decreasing day by day?' I replied, 'They are increasing.' He then asked, 'Does anybody among those who embrace his religion become displeased and renounce the religion afterwards?' I replied, 'No.' Heraclius said, 'Have you ever accused him of telling lies before his claim to be a prophet?' I replied, 'No.' Heraclius said, 'Does he break his promises?' I replied, 'No. We are at truce with him, but we do not know what he will do in it.' I could not find opportunity to say anything against him except that. Heraclius asked, 'Have you ever had a war with him?' I replied, 'Yes.' Then he said, 'What was the outcome of the battles?' I replied, 'Sometimes he was victorious and sometimes we.' Heraclius said, 'What does he order you to do?' I said, 'He tells us to worship Allah and Allah alone, and not to worship anything along with him, and to renounce all that our ancestors had said. He orders us to pray, to speak the truth, to be chaste, and to keep good relations with our kith and kin.' Heraclius asked the translator to convey to me the following. I ask you about his family, and you reply, that he belonged to a very noble family. In fact, all the apostles come from noble families amongst their respective peoples. I questioned you whether anybody else amongst you claimed such a thing. Your reply was in the negative. If the answer had been in the affirmative, I would have thought that this man was following the previous man's statement. Then I ask you whether any one of his ancestors was a king. Your reply was in the negative. And if it had been in the affirmative, I would have thought that this man wanted to take back his ancestral kingdom. I further ask whether he was ever accused of telling lies before he said what he said, and your reply was in the negative. So I wonder how a person who does not tell a lie about others could ever tell a lie about Allah. I then ask you whether the rich people followed him or the poor. You replied that it was the poor who followed him, and in fact all the apostles have been followed by this very class of people. Then I ask you whether his followers were increasing or decreasing. You replied that they were increasing, and in fact this was the way of true faith till it is complete of all respects. I further ask you whether there was anybody who, after embracing this religion, became displeased and discarded his religion. Your reply was in the negative, and in fact this is the sign of true faith. When its delight enters the hearts and mixes with them completely, I ask you whether he had ever betrayed. You replied in the negative, and likewise the apostles never betray. Then I ask you what he ordered you to do. You replied that he ordered you to worship Allah and Allah alone, and not to worship anything along with him, and forbade you to worship idols, and ordered you to pray, to speak the truth, and to be chaste. If what you have said is true, he would very soon occupy this place underneath my feet, and I knew it from the scripture that he was going to appear, but I did not know that he would be from you, and if I could reach him definitely, I would go immediately to meet him, and if I were with him, I would certainly wash his feet. Heraclius then asked for the letter addressed by Allah's apostle, which was delivered by Dihya to the governor of Basra, who forwarded it to Heraclius to read. The contents of the letter were as follows. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, this letter is from Muhammad, the slave of Allah, and his apostle to Heraclius, the ruler of Byzantine. Peace be upon him who follows the right path. Furthermore, I invite you to Islam, and if you become a Muslim, you will be safe, and Allah will double your reward. And if you reject this invitation of Islam, you will be committing a sin by misguiding your Arisian, that is, peasants. And I recite to you Allah's statement. O people of the Scripture, come to a word common to you and us, that we worship none but Allah, and that we associate nothing in worship with him, and that if none of us shall take others as lords beside Allah, then if they turn away, say, bear witness that we are Muslims, those who have surrendered to Allah. And we haven't covered Surah 3 yet. It comes along about this time, 629, and that was verse 64. Abu Sufyan then added, when Heraclius had finished his speech and had read the letter, there was a great hue and cry in the royal court. So we turned out of the court. I told my companions that the question of Ibn Abi Kabshah, the Prophet Muhammad? Oh, interesting. That's worth a write down. And we got 7:17 p.m. And this is from number 6, book 1, volume 1. And let's get a load of that name. Ibn Abi Kabshah. Now that's also, wait a minute. They're throwing parentheses around here. Oh. That's a associate of Abu Sufyan. Okay. The question has become so prominent that even the king of Bani al-Asfar is afraid of him. Then I started to become sure that he, the prophet, would be the conqueror in the near future till I embraced Islam. In other words, Allah guided me to it. The sub-narrator adds, Ibn an-Natur was the governor of Ilya, Jerusalem, and Heraclius was the head of the Christians of Sham. Ibn an-Natur narrates that once while Heraclius was visiting Ilya, that is Jerusalem, he got up in the morning with a sad mood. Some of his priests asked him why he was in that mood. Heraclius was a foreteller and an astrologer. He replied, At night when I looked at the stars, I saw that the leader of those who practice circumcision had appeared, become the conqueror. Who are they who practice circumcision? The people replied, Except the Jews, nobody practices circumcision, so you should not be afraid of them, the Jews. Just issue orders to kill every Jew present in the country. While they were discussing it, a messenger sent by the king of Ghassan to convey the news of Allah's apostle to Heraclius was brought in. Having heard the news, he, Heraclius, ordered the people to go and see whether the messenger of Ghassan was circumcised. The people asked, see him, told Heraclius that he was circumcised. Heraclius then asked him about the Arabs. The messenger replied, Arabs also practice circumcision. Not at that time. After hearing that, Heraclius remarked that sovereignty of the Arabs had appeared. Heraclius then wrote a letter to his friend in Rome, who was as good as Heraclius in knowledge. Heraclius then left for Homs, a town in Syria, still there. It was viciously attacked a while back, and stayed there till he received the reply of his letter from his friend, who agreed with him in his opinion about the emergence of the prophet and the fact that he was a prophet. On that, Heraclius invited all the heads of the Byzantines to assemble in his palace at Homs. When they had assembled, he ordered that all the doors of the palace be closed. Then he came out and said, O Byzantines, if success is your desire, and if you seek the right guidance, and want your empire to remain, then give the pledge of allegiance to this prophet. In other words, embrace Islam. On hearing the views of Heraclius, the people ran towards the gates of the palace like onagers, but found the doors closed. Heraclius realized their hatred towards Islam, and when he lost the hope of their embracing Islam, he ordered that they should be brought back an audience. Then he returned, he said, when they returned, he said, what already said was just to test the strength of your conviction, and I have seen it. The people prostrated before him and became pleased with him, and this was the end of Heraclius' story in connection with this faith. All righty, now we're going to be heading into Book 2. Let me do an equipment check. Looks like we have 7:22 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. And coming around, hello. And we're looking at OK. And checking up on the XSplit. Things are going fine. And check the audition. Okay, things are going fine. 36, 38 minutes into the show. All right. Do a little. And alrighty-us. All right, 38 minutes into the show. Got about 22 minutes left. So that'll be good for, if we're lucky, let's see. Can we get 20 hadith and narrated? Okay, here's number 7, and they keep the numbering up throughout the volume, but we're into book 2, that is belief. Narrated Ibn Umar. Say these, it's by subject. So that first book was on revelation, and this is on belief, and so the hadith that seem to be focused on belief, this is where they're at. That was the judgment by Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari. Narrated Ibn Umar, Allah's apostle said Islam is based on the following 5 principles: to testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah and Muhammad is Allah's apostle, to offer the compulsory congregational prayer dutifully and perfectly, to pay the zakat, in other words, obligatory charity, to perform the Hajj, in other words, the pilgrimage to Mecca, and 5, to observe fast during the month of Ramadan. Number 8, narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said faith, that is belief, consists of more than 60 branches, in other words, parts, and hayya. This term hayya covers a large number of concepts which are to be taken together. Amongst them are self-respect, modesty, bashfulness, and scruples, etc., is part of the faith. Number 9, narrated Abdullah bin Amir, the Prophet said a Muslim is the one who avoids harming Muslims with his tongue and hands, and a muhajir is an immigrant, is the one who gives up, abandons all what Allah has forbidden. Number 10, narrated by Abu Masa, some people ask Allah's apostle, whose Islam is the best? In other words, who is a very good Muslim? He replied, one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and hands. Number 11, narrated by Abdullah bin Amir, a man asked the Prophet, what sort of deeds or what qualities of Islam are good? The Prophet replied, to feed the poor and greet those whom you know and those whom you do not know. That's see Hadith number 27. And let me do a little entry here. Now, book 1 was 1 through 6, and book 2 is 7 through wherever we get to. And number 12, narrated Anas, the Prophet said, none of you will have faith till he wishes for his Muslim brother what he likes for himself. Number 13, narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's apostle said, "By him in whose hands my life is, none of you will have faith till he loves me more than his father and his children." Number 14, narrated Anas, the prophet said, "None of you will have faith till he loves me more than his father, his children, and all mankind." Ooh. Those are that was 13, 14. 13 and 14. Love Muhammad more than self or family. Mo is top love. And continuing, number 15, narrated Anas, the prophet said, "Whoever possesses the following three qualities will have the sweetness," that is, the delight of the faith. Oops, going the wrong way there. The prophet said, "The one to whom Allah and his apostle becomes dearer than anything else. 2, who loves a person and he loves him only for Allah's sake. 3, who hates to revert to atheism, that is disbelief, as he hates to be thrown into the fire." Number 16, narrated Anas, the prophet said, "Love for the Ansar is a sign of faith, and hatred for the Ansar is a sign of hypocrisy." And number 17, narrated Ubadah bin Az-Samit, who took the part in the Battle of Badr and was at Naqib, a person leading a group of 6 persons, on the night of Al-Aqaba pledge. Allah's apostle said, while a group of his companions were around him, "Swear allegiance to me for not to join anything in worship along with Allah, not to steal, not to commit illegal sexual intercourse, not to kill your children, not to accuse an innocent person to spread such an accusation among people, not to be disobedient when ordered to do good deed." The prophet added, "Whoever among you fulfills his pledge will be rewarded by Allah, and whoever indulges in any one of them except the ascription of partners to Allah and gets the punishment in this world, that punishment will be an expiation for that sin. And if one indulges in any of them, and Allah conceals his sin, it is up to him to forgive or punish him in the hereafter." Ubadah bin Az-Samit added, "So we swore allegiance for these points to Allah's apostle." Number 18, narrated Abu Sa'd al-Khudri, Allah's apostle said, "A time will come that the best property of a Muslim will be sleep, which he will take on the top of mountains and the places of rainfall valleys, so as to flee with his religion from afflictions." Number 19, narrated Aisha, whenever Allah's apostle ordered Muslims to do something, he used to order them deeds which were easy for them to do according to their strength endurance. They said, "O Allah's apostle, we are not like you. Allah has forgiven your past and future sins." So Allah's apostle became angry, and it was apparent on his face. He said, I am the most Allah-fearing and know Allah better than all of you do. Number 20, narrated Anas. The Prophet said, whoever possesses the following three qualities will taste sweetness of faith. The one to whom Allah and His Apostle become dearer than anything else. 2, who loves a person and he loves him only for Allah's sake. 3, who hates to reverse to disbelief atheism, for Allah has saved him out from it as he hates to be thrown in a fire. That was narrated by Anas, and the similar one, was also narrated by Anas, so they're just slightly different. I don't want to. We're to 21, and we have looks to be 7:33 p.m. One that caught my eye was number 19, and this is a rather important concept to grasp. 19, all of Mo's sins forgiven for Muhammad feared Allah more than all of them, and that is the believers. Oh boy. Kind of rough when the leader's got all his sins forgiven, but it says you don't have yours forgiven. Ooh. Just good equipment up there. Just looking at the audition. Yep, everything's working fine. Take a look at the radio DJ. Come on. Okay, doing fine. 7:34 here at the Voice of Stockton. Oh my. Heading into the home stretch. And number 21, narrated by Abu Say al-Khudri, the Prophet said, when the people of paradise will enter paradise and the people of hell will go to hell, Allah will order those who have had faith equal to the weight of a grain of mustard seed to be taken out from hell. So they will be taken out, but by then they will be blackened, charred. Then they will be put in the river of Haya, rain, or Hayat, life. The narrator is in doubt as to which is the right term, and they will revive like a grain that grows near the bank of a flood channel. Don't you see that it comes out yellow and twisted? Oh boy. And that's one worth noting. Man, that's a rough one. And that was number 21. Believers in hell. Removed, but charred. And number 22, narrated Abu Said al-Khudri. Allah's apostle said, while I was sleeping, I saw in a dream some people wearing shirts of which some were reaching up to the breasts, while others were even shorter than that. Umar bin al-Khattab was shown wearing a shirt that he was dragging. The people asked, how did you interpret it? What was the interpretation? O Allah's apostle, he the prophet replied, it is the religion. Number 23, narrated Abdullah bin Umar. Once Allah's apostle passed by an Ansari man who was admonishing to his brother regarding Haya. On that, Allah's apostle said, "Leave him, as Haya is a part of faith." And that was mentioned in Hadith number 8. Number 24, narrated Ibn bin Umar. Allah's apostle said, "I have been ordered by Allah to fight against the people until they testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and that Muhammad is Allah's apostle, and after the prayers perfectly and give the obligatory charity. So if they perform that, then they save their lives and property," I think these are misprints, "from me except for Islamic laws, and then their reckoning accounts will be done by Allah." Wow. Okay, fight against the people who don't have the right to be, who aren't worshiping Allah. They need to give the prayers perfectly and give the obligatory charity. They save their lives and property from me except for Islamic laws, and then their reckoning accounts will be done by Allah. Oh my. Number 25. Abu Huraira, Allah's apostle, was asked, "What is the best deed?" He replied, "To believe in Allah and his apostle Muhammad." The questioner then asked, "What is the next in goodness?" He replied, "To participate in jihad, that is, religious fighting in Allah's cause." The questioner again asked, "What is the next in goodness?" He replied, "To perform Hajj, that is, pilgrimage to Mecca. Mabrur, which is accepted by Allah and is performed with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure only and not to show off, and without committing a sin, and in accordance with the traditions of the Prophet." And wow, you got to be good without committing sin. Yep, worth writing down. 25. Without committing sin. Boy, that's a rough one. Number 26. Narrated Sa'd, Allah's apostle distributed zakat amongst a group of people while I was sitting there, but Allah's apostle left a man whom I thought the best of the lot. I asked, "O Allah's apostle, why have you left that person?" "By Allah, I regard him as a faithful believer." The Prophet commented, "Or merely a Muslim." I remained quiet for a while, but could not help repeating my question because of what I knew about him, and then asked Allah's apostle, "Why have you left so-and-so?" "By Allah, he is a faithful believer." The Prophet again said, "Or merely a Muslim," and I could not help repeating my question because of what I knew about him. Then the Prophet said, "O Sa'd, I give to a person while another is dearer to me, for fear that he might be thrown on his face in the fire by Allah." Number 27, narrated Abdullah bin Amr. A person asked Allah's apostle, "What sort of deeds in or what qualities of Islam are good?" He replied, "To feed the poor and greet those whom you know and those whom you don't know." Number 28, in other words, hospitality, a big one in Islam. All righty, we're getting to 741 here at the Voice of Stockton on the Islam Show. We're in Book 2, Volume 1 of the Sahih Bukhari Hadith and Sunnah. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet said, "I was shown the hellfire, and that the majority of its dwellers were women who were ungrateful. It was asked, do they disbelieve in Allah? or are they ungrateful to Allah? He replied, they are ungrateful to their husbands and are ungrateful for the favors and the good charitable deeds done to them. If you have always been good, benevolent, to one of them, and then she sees something in you, not of her liking, she will say, I have never received any good from you. Oh my. Number 29, narrated by Al-Marur. At our Rabadha, I met Abu Dar, who was wearing a cloak, and his slave too, who was wearing a similar one. I asked about the reasons for it. He replied, I abused a person by calling his mother with bad names. The Prophet said to me, O Abu Dar, did you abuse him by calling his mother with bad names? You still have some characteristics of ignorance. Your slaves are your brothers, and Allah has put them under your command. So whoever has a brother under his command should feed him of what he eats and dress him of what he wears. Do not ask them, that is, slaves, to do things beyond their capacity, that is, their power. And if you do so, then help them. All righty, looks like we got 6:43 here at the Voice of Stockton. And that was to number 30. And thanks for being with us this Friday night. I'll look into the belief portion, that is Book 2 of the Al-Sahih Bukhari, Hadith, and Sunnah. A lot of clarity there, a lot of things cleared up about Islam. So, no, it isn't an easy religion. In some ways, no religion is. So, with that, folks, thanks for listening in. Yeah. That is not a good thing. That was a stool that fell. All righty, looks like we're coming up on an hour, so thanks for listening in, and we'll keep this portion, bring it to a close, and live radio will continue. All right. That was the Sunday Night Islam show. I'm going to return you now. Well, let's get off the XSplit. And in 3, 2, 1, be saying, have a good one to the folks there. Which is it? Bam. Thanks for watching. And 3, 2, 1, bippy, exit. Boom. Yes.